Welcome to the Investor Fuel Real Estate Investing Show, where I interview the nation's top real estate entrepreneurs, industry leaders, and other amazing entrepreneurs to help educate and inspire you to take your business and your life to the next level. My goal is to add tremendous value to you during every single episode of this show. If you get value, I'd love it if you subscribe on your favorite podcast player, subscribe on YouTube, and my very favorite, please share this with your community so we can impact even more entrepreneurs. Let's start today's show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Today, I'm here with my buddy, David Richter. We've been friends for quite some time now. I haven't talked to you for a little while, but good to see you here. And we're going to be talking about basically how to make sure that you get paid first. As entrepreneurs, we often get paid last. Like, we have all these bills, we have all this expense, we're investing in our business, and if there's anything left, then maybe we get a few of the crumbs there, especially if you're just ramping your business up, right? And so we're going to be talking about how to make sure you pay yourself first and how to make sure that you're not the one that is managing all your books. I don't know many entrepreneurs that love doing their bookkeeping or the financial side. It's just a necessary evil. So we're going to talk about the right way to do that today. David, what's up, buddy?
What's up, Mike? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
Good
to see you. Good to see you.
Good
So,
to see you.
you know this better than anybody, but a lot of entrepreneurs they tend to be really good, like deal makers, salespeople, marketers, kind of what I'll call the front end that drives the business. And then the back end could be fulfillment of the product or the accounting and bookkeeping and certainly the tax. Oh my God, the tax stuff. Like those are all necessary evils. Like not many people love those parts of the business. You'd agree with that, right?
Yeah, 100%. Like we all like going out, especially if you've got that entrepreneurial blood. You took the risk, and it's the thrill, right? It's the thrill of the hunt that we love and that we seek and that we go out there and do. So yeah, all that back end stuff takes a back seat. It's got
to happen. Like you like to throw a party, but you don't like to clean up afterwards, right?
Right. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Nobody likes that.
Yeah.
Nobody likes that. So I know you're a huge advocate for the Profit First model. In fact, you've written the book on Profit First for real estate investors. And let's talk a little bit about what that means, because it's conceptually it's very easy, and I guess even in practice it's very easy too, but you really have to kind of be set up to just think that way and have your books kind of flow that way. So talk high level, what does that mean?
This is where you already even touched on it a little bit. If you're going to be really good at making money and you're going to go out there, whether you have that skill or if you've acquired that skill or you've put a lot of time and energy into it, you got to make sure that you build the keep money skill too. Those are two different skill sets, making money and keeping it as well. And that's where a lot of entrepreneurs think it can go on the back burner. Like, I'll just make a ton, and as long as there's money in the account or as long as I'm doing deals, as long as there's something happening, that's great. I'll just tell you a quick story. Like my background, why I even got into all of this, I was part of a big company where we were doing about 25 deals in the single family space a month. So like wholesales, rentals, lease options, fix and flips, all the stuff. But we were spending 26 worth of deals out the door every month. So it's like, who cares that you're doing 300 deals a year if you're literally you don't have any money in your bank account at the end of the day.
Right.
That's what took me on this road, because I realized it didn't matter how many deals you did, and I realized also that it wasn't just us. Like I was going to events and masterminds and different things back then. This was probably 10 years ago now. What is this, 2025? Good God. So like 10 years ago that I was doing all of this and right in the thick of it, and then a bunch of other people said the same things. We make money, but we feel broke. So that's where it's like you got to have the make money and the keep money. I really feel like that's where Profit First stepped in, because like you said, it's even something that's easy to hear because we've heard the same types of message, like from different books, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like pay yourself first, all that type of stuff. And that's why Profit First really spoke to me, I guess, because I was like, good God, I've lived there where we're not able to pay ourselves, where we're not able to do this stuff. And that just helped me clarify, okay, this is a good system to keep it and a good mindset, and it puts it into practice. We could go into that, but that was the whole mindset shift for me. It was like that pain of going through all those deals and not having anything to show for it, that I knew something had to change.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I've said a few times here lately that I think will hopefully resonate with people when they hear this is, as entrepreneurs, a lot of us are kind of the visionary type, right? And what does that mean? It's like, it means you're living in the future. You're always thinking about the future, and you're like, if I just grow my business, or someday I'll be able to have those things. But the reality is in business, as you've heard, as you know, cash is everything. And so like the future won't be there if you run out of cash today, right?
Right. Big time. And that's what a lot of entrepreneurs, they're so risk. Usually a lot of entrepreneurs love risk and they're not risk adverse, like most of society. It was so funny. I go to all these events with entrepreneurs and like literally 80% of the room, 80 to 90% is probably like the A-type drivers. I was at like a school function and we did the same type of thing and it was like 89% were like on the other end of the spectrum, like the order and the diesel. I'm like, good grief. It really is like the entrepreneur that goes out there and loves the risk, loves taking it, loves doing that type of thing. But here's the thing. If you want to keep taking risks, then you have to set yourself up to be able to take risks for a long time. And that's what you were hitting on, Mike. It's like cash allows you to do that. That's the lifeblood of the business. It's a lifeblood, honestly, like so you don't have to worry. It's like that's really a peace of mind thing is making sure you have the cash there. I even dedicate an entire chapter. If you're a real estate investor, I think it's chapter 6, like why you need reserves and why you're going to fight me on it. So like I know that so many people don't like the concept of like, oh, there's money just sitting there. But there's been so many times in my business personally, like the business that I run today and like hundreds of businesses we've worked with and I've seen where hard times have come and it didn't matter how many deals they were doing. It didn't matter if they had deal flow or if they didn't have deal flow. The difference between the entrepreneur that was actually able to move forward was the ones that had cash. Versus the ones that were just like, what do I have to do? Or some people shutting down business or whatever it might be. And it really is about making sure you have a good cash reserve so you can weather those storms when other people can't.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you can't invest in the business, but you just need to be methodical about it.
Exactly. Yep. I love investing in the business.
You got kind of a fund for that, right? It's like R&D or like new product development. It's like this is your growth fund.
Exactly.
But the growth fund isn't just everything that's in the bank account right now.
And that's why I like Profit First, because the system behind it is super simple. Like you even said, Mike, like the practical side is like built for entrepreneurs, that you don't have to have any cash or you need cash, but you don't need to have any like financial background. You don't need to be a financial wizard. You don't even need to know about cash flow and all that. You just need to know, okay, can I set up a bank account? Like the Profit First system is literally the envelope method, but with bank accounts. So, like in your personal life, you could set up envelopes and like make sure you put every dollar in its place and give every dollar a name. That's what Profit First is about. So yes, Mike, in the Profit First system, there's accounts to make sure you're investing in the business, like operational expenses, or like for your fix and flips, you have an OPM account, like making sure your lender's money is taken care of, to finish your rehabs. But then you also have reserves. You also have reserves or a profit account or like an owner's pay to making sure you're paying yourself and that you're building an actual cash buffer. And also because you're spreading out your cash, it's not as tempting to reach into the one big bank account, that big black hole bank account that a lot of people have where they just have one big one and like reach into there when the money's high and it's like, okay, I could just spend money today. When you spread the money out, it's a lot easier not to do that. And it's a lot harder to go in there and be like, oh, I've got all this money. Well, now it's spread out. So yeah, that's where it's like, it's the yin to the yang, where if you're an entrepreneur, well, I have run across this, Mike. Now I've been long enough in business. I actually have worked with people that have the opposite mindset. They are risk adverse, so they stack cash a lot. And that's why I like Profit First, because whether you love to spend money or whether you love to save money, it puts you on equal footing, because there's the OPEX to make sure you're spending the money you need to get the deals or the revenue in the door, but then you've got the reserve accounts to make sure your business is healthy too, and it's like it puts us on equal footing. There are the accounts dedicated for the spenders, and there's accounts dedicated for the savers, but there's also the opposite of them as well too, and that's, it's like marriage or anything. It's like you got it's like those opposites attract. It's the same thing in business. Like if you're going to be a spender, then you have to have a system to save. But then if you're on the opposite side, like some of the people I know, it's like if you're a saver and you hate spending money, like you need a system that helps you spend the right amount of money out the door so you're not like just hoarding all the cash and not growing like you want to either.
Yeah, because you do have to invest back in the business, right? A lot of times when people are saver, I would say that my my wife Lindsay,
yes,
we're both fairly conservative, right? So we've had a tendency to like not pay ourselves until historically, like whatever's left at the end of the year, we start paying out bonuses and stuff like that. But it's like, well, because you're worried about, am I going to have enough for taxes? Am I going to have enough for this? Am I going to have enough for that? But the flip side of that is you may save too much money where you don't invest it back in the business, or you don't build your team up or spend enough on marketing or whatever, right? So David, maybe you could share like conceptually, I know you mentioned the envelope system and things like that. Just conceptually share with folks, like you basically just create buckets to make sure you've got enough money to pay for certain things in your business. Maybe just kind of elaborate on that a little bit.
There's in the profit first system, it's really about, there's the mindset behind it, which is the same thing. Like I said, I won't rehash this because like Rich Dad, Poor Dad and the Richest Man in Babylon all say it. Like put first things first and like make sure that in a for-profit business, you can focus on the profitability. That's where Mike Michalowicz's original book and like the Profit First series, and like if you want to read the real estate investing version, we all point towards this system like we just alluded to. And there's 5 fundamental core accounts. Like, so that way it's not just one big bank account like I had touched on, where I call it the big black hole bank account. All the money goes in, all the money gets sucked out into the swirling vortex of doom, never to be seen again. And that's where I don't want you living because there's no clarity. The 5 bank accounts, though, like spread out your money so that way you can see, and then you just name them. There's the first 3 accounts I call the Golden Trio. I'm a big movie nerd. I love Harry Potter, Star Wars, all that stuff, right? They've got the 3 main heroes, Luke, Han, Leia, Harry, Ron, Hermione, making sure good wins in the end. Your business is way more important than that, and you need 3 main heroes. You could take a lesson from it, like the hero's journey, like making sure that you have those things along the way that help you win now at the end of your business. And those first 3 bank accounts they help you keep more. Number 1 is profit. Obviously, profit first. Number 2, owner's comp or owner's compensation, like the money you pay yourself, and owner's tax. I get a lot of questions on what's the difference between those. It's like, well, those all help you keep it. Profit is not owner's comp. Owner's comp is to make sure you're paid, like that you can put food on your table, that you can buy your groceries, you can buy your gas, like all that stuff. That's what you pay yourself consistently, where profit is more like, why did I start this dang thing? And am I getting closer to that? And you take from profit quarterly, more like a bonus versus what, like you said, Mike, and like a lot of other people do, they wait till the end of the year and good God, I hope there's some profit left that I can take. It's like every quarter saying, how did we do this quarter? Is there the profit to take? Let's take up to 50% out of this account. Owner's tax is just to make sure this is not a property tax account. So if you're in real estate, you could set up a different one for that and somewhere else. But owner's tax to make sure at tax time, like when we're recording this, kind of in the thick of tax time right now, it's like that's where if you have taxes due, slice off a little bit from every sale or every deal that you do and put it in the tax bucket. And then at tax time, you don't have to worry. Then the other 2 accounts is OPEX, operational expenses. That's the black hole bank account. Like that's basically now just sending money out the door. The other one's income. So income, I would separate out income and OPEX, like what's coming into the business, what's my income, so I can see how much actual cash is coming through my fingers. And then the other one is OPEX, like, okay, how much is going out the door? Then the other ones help me keep it. That's the foundational accounts. I do throw one out there. I know with you, Mike, you speak to a lot of real estate investors. I do have like a bonus account for real estate investors that I already touched on, that OPM account, that if you're going to take private money from someone and you want to give them the warm, fuzzy feelings that you're going to take care of their money, like have a separate account for your projects and for that fund. And honestly, that provides so much peace of mind as well to the investors that we work with, because they're like, now I don't have to wonder, do I have enough money to finish my rehabs, or like, do I have to pull some of my own? It's like now they can see it very clearly. So that's the overview of it. If you want to do it, I'll leave with one thing though. If you're like, good God, David, I'm an entrepreneur, right? I'm just going 100 miles an hour. Do one account. Can you do one account, 1%, so that way you could at least get what the system is trying to provide for you? It's good habits with your money. This is not just an accounting hack. This is for you to have good habits and good wealth habits. So start there. Start where you can and then grow into it, or pick up the book and then read the full thing and then get into it. It's like just start with what you can do from this podcast.
Yeah. And I think the concept for those of you that are listening is just to start to put your money into different buckets that you know you're going to have to pay for, so that when it comes time to pay for that thing, you're not like, oh, I don't have any because I spent it on something else, right? It's like start to put it in a tax bucket, because there's plenty of entrepreneurs that come tax time, they've got a big tax bill and they didn't set anything aside for it, or even people that are self-employed, right? And same thing with marketing. Like a lot of folks have gotten to the point to where, like, I'm obviously a marketing guy, so I think the last thing you should ever cut if you're starting to cut your business is marketing, because that's ultimately the fuel that feeds your business, right? But a lot of people might spend it somewhere else and they don't have that marketing fund there. So, yeah. So, David, any thoughts on, one of the things that I've advocated for people for operating expense, for example, is that people should be holding on to, figure out what your monthly operating cost is in your business. And you could break it down further into tax and like all these other things as well. But typically, like, you should have at least 3 to 4 months of operating expense set aside in your business, so that if you have a bad month, that you don't have to start letting people go or stop marketing, for example, because you want to have some staying power. I mean, if you start to slash expenses, the moment things get bad, you're literally slashing your own throat. But any kind of words of wisdom there?
So if you're just starting this journey, I say to attack 2 different accounts aggressively: OPEX, like you just said, and the owner's comp, where I would start to build reserves in those 2 specific accounts and try and get 2 months in each of those accounts as quickly as possible. So 2 months of OPEX, 2 months of owner's comp. Like, if you can do that right away, once you build the system, great, because that gives your actual business a little breathing room, and it gives you, the owner, a little breathing room too. So if you can do that right out of the gate, great. And then from there, like Mike was saying, in your whole profit first system, do you have 3 to 6 months at like the bare minimum? And then you can dictate it based on your risk level from there. Obviously, the more you have, like, and I don't know if you know these stories, but like, I think it was Bill Gates in the early days of Microsoft before it took off was like, I want 12 months of expenses at all times, like sitting in cash in a reserve that we don't touch, like and like based on if money wasn't rolling in. And so it's big businesses like that started small and grew into giants. But then it's also like the small business entrepreneurs that I've been talking to, where literally someone took something where I had spoken like this before, and I went back to an event a year later, and they came up to me, this was just a couple months ago. He's like, I've never had reserves in my business before, but I set up the one account. I started just sticking money in there over this last year. He's like, I have 6 months of business reserves in there. He's like, I've never had that peace of mind before that I can actually have reserves. He's like, I almost didn't believe that I could. It's like, now that I've seen it stack up, he's like, this has been fun. Like, now I can go out there and do what I want to do and like not have to worry that this is the last deal before what am I going to do? And that's where I just want to give you some of that peace of mind, whether it's one account or if you set up the whole system.
Yeah, one of the last words of wisdom I got in corporate America before I left corporate America was it's a C-level guy that worked for a company that I worked for, a multi-billion-dollar company. And I was recruiting MBAs from like top programs for this summer internship program that I created for this like $5 billion company. And I had people come in and kind of give advice. And one of the things this guy said was, save up. This is what he said to. This was for college graduates or grad school graduates that were coming into the workforce. Was save up a year's worth of your compensation save up a year's worth of your compensation as fast as possible. And the reason he was saying that is because you're not beholden to, like, you don't have to accept a position just because you need the money. You don't have to, if your job kind of sucks, you don't want to become a yes man because you're afraid you're going to lose your job. He was like, just basically have some cushion there because you're going to be willing to take more risk, calculated risk when the time comes, and you're not like beholden to like living paycheck to paycheck, right? I mean, profit first is in many ways the same thing for your business, right?
Yeah,
you have this relief that my bills are covered and I don't have to make these rash decisions to pay for stuff because times got tight, and I'm making rash decisions like next week or next month because I didn't plan for it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's really, at the end of the day, what we want from the system. And that's what we want from our businesses. You don't start out thinking, I want my business to become this cash-eating monster that is just taking over my life. Right. It's like, you want the financial freedom, whatever that means to you. And so many people don't build a bridge for themselves. Like, if you've played the Robert Kiyosaki Cash Flow 101 game, if you haven't, literally like 90% of that game is spent in like a little wheel of spaces. And like, you're trying to land on big or small deals to get to the fun track or financial freedom. But a lot of people don't ever cross over. And it's because they don't know what to do with the money once it hits their bank account. And a lot of times it's no fault of theirs because this hasn't been touted out there for a long time. Or like a lot of the stuff that we hear, like you said, Mike, is the marketing, the sales. That's what we're drawn to. But you need a little dose of this, like making sure that you have the keep skill in place as well too, to feel the financial freedom and see it in real life.
Yeah. So what do you say to people, David? Because I know the answer to this, and I'm teeing this up because a lot of people listening to this are thinking the same thing. Sounds great, but I'm running the business. I've got all these things to do. Most people that are listening to this right now probably wouldn't identify as being keeping clean books or being the person responsible for keeping clean books, a bookkeeper. Like, that stuff is necessary for the business, but most people hate that. So where do you get started? I do remember I work with some pretty high level guys. You do too. But every once in a while, I talk to somebody and they're like, you know what? I got like boxes full of receipts and stuff for the past couple of years, and I'm like a couple of years behind. I'm like, oh my God, that makes me sick to my stomach. I'm sure it makes you sick to your stomach too.
Yeah.
But for folks that have kind of messy books that just lay in bed at night thinking about this, even though they're not the right person, like where do they go?
Well, I would say first, even before a person, like that's why I like Profit First. Like, can you get a hold of your cash? Because usually if you can do that, you could give yourself some breathing room and some sleep at night. Like, can you actually put some money aside and like start to get a handle on it? Because that's the thing that's honestly at the end of the day, you're worried, am I going to run out of cash? Do I know where it is? Can I even pay myself? And start there. Now, if you need the help, a lot of people have CPAs and bookkeepers, so unless you're doing it all, like then we need to start there. We need to have some of those foundational pieces, like do you have a bookkeeper or CPA? And if you do, a lot of times entrepreneurs will go and ask them higher level questions like, what does this profit and loss mean? Or like, how do I make decisions from this? Or like, can you tell me what's going on with my business? And then you get some answer in a different language, literally like a Cantonese, like they're speaking this thing and it's like, yeah, I don't understand. And I've got to stick. And then they are sick to their stomach when their person talks to them, their financial person. That's where I've created, and a lot of people have a type of business out there, fractional CFO, where it's more of like a financial coach / manager leader of the business finances. So someone that comes in to take that hat off of the entrepreneur's plate, to actually manage the financial department and make sure everything's there, but then also manage the bookkeeper, like the day-to-day stuff, but then talk to the owner like a strategic leader on the team to say, this is what the numbers mean. And that's where, like, I was very, Mike, this, like, I have a fractional CFO business, but I've like stuck the flag in the sand where, or in the ground, like I am not going to just have a bookkeeping company or just a CPA company, because although those are needed and necessary, a lot of people need the guidance and explanation, and they're just like, well, it doesn't make sense to me, or I don't know what to do, or I can't take these steps. So that's why I'm like, no, you need someone that cares, that goes in there, that helps you actually achieve that financial freedom. So I would say that, and yes, I'm 100% biased because I own a fractional CFO company, but then as well too, that those people are out there, whether it's for you, your industry, like we work with a lot of real estate investors and a lot of blue collar type, businesses as well too. It's like, that's where if you need that type of person, they're out there. They're fractional too, which means you don't need like if you hear the word CFO, Chief Financial Officer, you might be thinking ivory tower, $250,000 a year, that type of thing and up. And it's like, well, no, I want to bring it to where you could actually have someone that's affordable, that's a high level leader, that's giving you good financial, like for your business specifically. This is not a group session. It's like one-on-one of actually being able to go through that type of thing. And where a bookkeeper is great, but they're usually just going to hand you reports. And like a CPA is great because if you've got a great one, they can save you a ton of money on the taxes and really help you. But then at the end of the day, are you really getting what you want from your business, like from the numbers and the cash and all of that? And that's what a CFO handles.
Yeah. Yeah. Better. I mean, it's easier than ever to find people like fractional CFOs to help you with your business. And no longer do you need to have a full-time person in house. And even worse is, people are like, well, I have an admin and they're going to do some of my bookkeeping stuff too.
Yes.
But they don't have the skills
with no background
trained on that, right? And so truthfully, even we have a whole accounting team, but I still catch mistakes and stuff that I look and they're like, hey, this is in the wrong class, this is in the wrong account or whatever. But you really need somebody that understands the business to kind of look over those things. And it's easier than ever because you don't have to have a committed full-time person, or you don't have to hire your some long lost cousin that did this once before, has to try to figure this out and understand your business. So
100%. And that's what I love about today's world. Like, and COVID put it into like, I feel like extreme overdrive where more people are willing to meet virtually or like pay for actual experience, that are for the people that they might not have had access to before. And that's where if you need that, that's out there, not just for fractional CFOs, but like COOs or CEOs or CMOs or, all the C-suite, is basically you can hire out fractional now. So that way, if you need a specific person in the business, it doesn't necessarily have to be a full-time person. And you could get a leader for even a fraction of the cost of a full-time, just regular employee as well, too. Not even a leader employee, that where if it's a fractional CFO or something like that, it could be a lot less than just a regular employee.
Yeah, and for those of you that have a bookkeeper or somebody on your team, and it seems like it takes up a lot of their time. I mean, honestly, I know that you probably deal with this, David, is once somebody gets their books cleaned up, it's way easier to maintain.
Yeah,
but it might
big
be a lot
time.
of work to get there. If you're listening to this and your books are really messy, and I can just tell you, because I know a bunch of people that have been through this, once your books are cleaned up and you have a plan and you are working with people that are looking out for you, you just sleep better at night because you know you're on track and you're not worried about it anymore. And it's just really a matter of, kind of building out your team.
Yeah, big time. And that's what a lot of people are looking for. Just that sleep well at night.
No doubt. Yep. So, David, hey, thanks for spending some time with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, Mike. I appreciate you having me on and sharing the message.
Yeah. Everybody, if you're interested in David's service, we're going to have some notes in the show notes here, but you can go to, is it simplecfo.com? Is that where?
Yeah, they could go there, or they can do /gift if they want the book for free. So simplecfo.com/gift.
Nice.
Can download it there and at least get started on it because, like I said, not a lot of people are teaching it out there.
Yeah. It's not sexy, but it's got to happen, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah. Cool. Well, everybody, hope you got some good value from the show today. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for joining us for today's show. You can learn more about the amazing benefits of the Investor Fuel Mastermind community, including surrounding yourself with hundreds of other rock stars, 100% financing on your deals, and members-only discounts from vendors you're likely already using that, as a member of Investor Fuel, will save you more than the cost of your membership. Visit investorfuel.com to learn more. You can also check out the show's notes for access to free resources, how to get access to world-class lead generation, and even how to work with me directly one-on-one. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss another episode. See you on the next show.